In this video I'm gonna review this Olympus 12 to 45mm f4 Pro lens. Hi guys, my name is Matti Sulanto. I'm a photographer and a Lumix ambassador from Helsinki, Finland. And in this video I'm gonna try this Olympus 12 to 45mm f4 Pro lens. And this is a very interesting lens, and I've been wanting to try this ever since this came out, this lens. And now finally I was able to borrow this lens from my good friend Peter Fusgaard. And in this video I'm gonna test this and see how this performs on a Lumix camera body. Right now I have it on my Lumix G90. This is a very interesting lens because Olympus already has 12 to 40mm f2.8 in their lineup. So it makes me ask what's the point of this lens, but I guess we're gonna find out it later. But one thing that strikes me right away is the tiny size of this lens. After all, this covers pretty like a wide zoom range from 12mm almost super wide angle to 45mm classic portrait focal length. But the size of the lens is absolutely tiny and the filter size is only 58mm. The build quality certainly feels like pro grade. The exterior seems to be metal, then the inner barrel is some sort of plastic. But the overall feel and the quality feel of the lens is really like, premium in my opinion. And like I already said, the size of this lens is almost tiny and it feels really well balanced on the G90 camera body. This package or combo would be really nice, for example, on a vacation trip, if anyone ever can make vacation trips or something. But still, it feels really good on the G90. The zoom ring is super smooth, and so is the manual focus ring, but unfortunately the manual focus lacks the excellent manual focus clutch feature that I think is standard on all the other Olympus Pro grade lenses. And one more thing about the zoom ring, of course the rotation is the wrong way for a Lumix user, and the same goes for the manual focus ring. And those are just those unfortunate things that we have to live with if we are going to use Lumix lenses on Olympus cameras and Olympus lenses on Lumix cameras. And this lens also comes with the lens hood, which I think is really good. As you probably know, I'm a big proponent of lens hoods. But what about the optical performance and the sharpness? Because that is, after all, the most important feature on any lens or every lens. This lens has a relatively modest maximum aperture of f4, but fortunately it's constant throughout the range, which is really nice. But when it comes to the optical performance, this lens is already sharp wide open, and it makes sense because like I said, the maximum aperture is relatively modest f4. And it gets maybe slightly better when stopping down to about f5.6, but it doesn't make any sense to go beyond that to get more sharpness. Only if you really need lots and lots of depth of field, then it might make sense to go to about f8 or f11 if you really need all that depth of field. The vignetting and distortions and also chromatic aberrations are corrected either in camera or in many RAW developers like Adobe Lightroom, for example. But now I'd like to show you a few pictures that I shot on this lens, because after all, these lenses are made for taking pictures. And if you like this video, please buy me a cup of coffee. There's a link down below. That would mean a lot to me, and it makes it possible for me to make more of these videos for you. And the autofocus is really fast, and it looks like all the autofocus modes also on Lumix camera body work really well. The manual focus is normal fly-by-wire or focus-by-wire system, and it also works really well, but I really wish they would have this lens would have the manual focus clutch, because it's really nice for manual focusing. All in all, I like this lens a lot, and it feels like it's like a scaled down version of the Olympus 12. All in all, I like this lens a lot, and it feels like it's a scaled down version of the 12-100mm f4 Olympus lens. But I like this lens much more because it's so much smaller, and I personally don't need that 100mm telephoto reach. The compact size of course comes with the relatively slow or modest maximum aperture of only f4, like I said before. But because the maximum aperture is constant throughout the range, this lens is handy also in studio photography or any photography with flashes or strobes. And also low light photography shouldn't be a major problem as long as your subject is not moving anywhere, because all the latest Lumix cameras also have a really good IBIS. But if you have this lens and a fast prime lens, then you have every situation covered, even if you have to stop some low light fast action. There is no similar lens in the Lumix lineup, so if this range is suitable for you and you like the constant f4 maximum aperture, this lens is a good option also for Lumix users. Currently, the price of this lens seems to be around $650 or euros. And the major upsides with this lens are the excellent build quality, it's fully weather sealed, and it's sharp. And the only kind of downside I can come up with is the relatively modest maximum aperture, but at least it's constant, and if it's even a downside, it depends on your shooting style and your style of photography. And here's my review of the 12-40mm f2.8 Olympus lens. Please check it out if you're interested. Thank you so much again, and I'll see you in the next one.